see me, right?
Very nice.
Okay. Hi guys. The sun's shining. I don't know what I'm doing inside. I feel like I should be sitting out in the garden with a G&T or something. But welcome to this very basic session that we are going to be talking about. I thought I'll call it never a dull moment. So it's all about dal and rice. And in the UK, there always seems to be a perception that dal is a side, it's a side dish, it's a side show. You need meat, or you need the feature is always rice, is always the meat. But in India, actually dal can be very much the center of the show, because a lot of people in India just eat dal and rice. So I thought I'll focus on dal today and move away from this perception that dal's got to be a side. You can just have a wonderfully comforting meal with rice and dal. And I thought I'll talk a little bit about the kinds of dal that you have and how you make the perfect dal. If you've got some dal or lentils in your cupboard, and you've got some rice or even bread, you'll actually never ever go hungry. So today's focus, as I said, is never a dull moment. So let's talk a little bit about lentils. And what I did is I just raided the store cupboard today, and I brought out a whole lot of lentils that I already had. And this is just a small selection. If I went even further, I could have probably found about 15 sorts of lentils. So this is your the orange or the yellow lentils. That's the masoor dal that's most commonly used. You've then got the moong dal, which is slightly paler and it's slightly smaller in size. So that's the moong dal. You've got split peas or chana dal here, which is slightly larger in size. This is urad dal, which is white in color. So you can see that this looks very similar to this, but this is white and this is yellow. The texture is completely different. These are the green ones that we have, which is the green lentils. You've also got the equivalent of the black ones. So as I said, I've just got a selection of few lentils in here. And you pretty much cook them the same way. The only thing which you've got to be careful is that the cooking time varies. So if you've got something like these, or you've got the green whole ones, they take a lot more time to actually cook. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you either soak them. What I find is I'm too impatient, or I don't remember to soak them overnight. Just put them into a pot and then pour some boiling water from your kettle and cover it, and that just speeds it up. Otherwise, if you're patient and you know what you're going to have and you're very well organized, unlike me, just soak it overnight. And with the other lentils, if you've got your usual ones, which I'll show, they don't need very much cooking. So you can pretty much, they'll take about, in a pressure cooker, they take literally about 5 minutes. But if you don't have a pressure cooker and you're going to do it in a pot, it'll take you about 10-15 minutes. So that's there. So what I thought I'll do today is I'll show you two varieties of dal. One is going to be this one, the commonly used one, and the other one is going to be the split peas. And I'll show you two easy dals from two pits of the world. So this is going to be a very North Indian dal, which is you probably find in Delhi. And this is going to be a very Calcutta style. It's called a Bengali chola dal, which is chola means chana dal. Yeah. So let's start. So what I've done is to show. To speed up the process is the chana dal, which is this dal. I've actually boiled it. So you can see what I've done is, you can see what it looks like. I boiled it with a little bit of water, and this is what your dal actually should look like. The only thing which I've added to it is a little bit of turmeric and a little bit of ginger. But you can see the way this dal is I've not really completely ground it down. So you can see the bits of it. It's very soft. So if I press it, it'll actually, it'll squish. But the grains are actually there. So that's my consistency of this first dal. And the second dal, which is this one, what I've done is I've put that on to boil. So I've literally put 1 cup of dal with 2 cups of water, and I've put it on to boil, and you can see, and a little bit of turmeric. I've not put anything else onto it. And once we focus on with the other camera, you'll see that this is coming along nicely. So when we make dal here, and when we often have a cooking lesson and we have dal, people think that, oh, your dal's very runny. But dal's actually supposed to be runny. It's not supposed to be like cauliflower mash or potato mash. It's not supposed to be stodgy. It's supposed to be quite runny. And think about what you're eating the dal with, because if you're eating it with rice, then it needs to be slightly runny to absorb the dal. And if you're having it with chapatis or something like we have the black dal, then what you need to do is to make sure it's slightly thicker. And you can actually do it in lots of varieties, but as I said, I'm going to give you two ways of doing it. So what I'm going to do now is move the camera across, and then we'll talk our way through the dals, and you can see that happening. So let me just move you and take you onto the other side. And there we've come to the pot, and you can actually see all the dals being ready. So the first thing which I'll probably do is I'll put the rice on, because once the rice is being cooked, we'll get the dal on. So this dal, you can see, is sitting here on the hob, and it's just slowly sort of simmering. Yeah. So let's get this on. Now the way I do rice is, there are lots of ways of doing rice. The easiest way of doing rice is to measure it and do it. So what I've got here is I've got about a bowl of rice. I'm just going to remove these lights because I think they make it very shiny. Yeah, that's probably better. If you just remove the top light there from there as well, you should be okay. Yeah, that's brilliant. So you can see I've got a bowl of rice here, and then all I do is I just put the bowl of rice in there, and I measure the water. So same cup, obviously, and I'm going to double up the water. That's all I'm doing. Bit of salt, just a bit, and this is, I'm just making plain rice. I'm not going to do anything else to it. So just very plain rice. I'm going to put a teeny bit of ghee into it, just a little bit, which is literally 1 teaspoon, because I quite like ghee, and that goes in. And then this needs to come up to a boil. So all I've got is rice, water, teeny bit of ghee, and I'm just going to bring it up to a boil. And meanwhile, you can see that this dal is nicely simmering away. So this dal is actually cooked. I'm going to put this dal off in a minute. Bring this up to a boil. Now the secret of rice is to make sure that you put cold water. Don't put hot water, because what you want to do is you want to bring the temperature up at all the same time. So the rice and the water needs to come up to a boil together. I've put just ordinary cold water. I've doubled the amount of water. You could put 1.5 times, but I've just doubled it. And then it comes up to a boil. As soon as it comes up to a boil, so the way we do it is that you look for a bubble. And as soon as the first bubble comes out, and I've said this many times for our cookery lessons, as soon as the first bubble comes up, all you do is you cover it. So I'm just waiting for the first bubble to come up, and of course the ghee is going to be an indication that it's going to melt. So you'll see, and I can see the first bubble come up. So as soon as the bubble comes, I'm going to put a cover on it, reduce the hob to the lowest that it's got, and I'm just going to put it on that. And I'm going to ask my glamorous assistant to put a timer on for about 20 minutes. So we put that, and in the meantime, we'll start doing our dal. So I'm going to do 2 dals, as I said. So this is the first dal that I'm going to be doing, which is the more traditional North Indian dal. So you can see that the dal here has been boiled. The thing is, it's almost got to be like porridge, because you don't want the husk to be there. And in India, you get this wonderful gizmo that you just whirl on top, and the dal gets all squishy and thing. But it's got to be a homogeneous mixture. So you get your dal there. So I'm going to put this dal on the side, and I'm going to fry up the things for this dal. So for this one, heat your oil up. Pan on. So rice is now happening. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of that. So I've got about 1 cup of dal that I've put in, or about this much. So it's one standard teacup of dal, not a big American cup. And it's taken about 20 minutes to boil, water on it. And as I said, all I've done is I've just put a little bit of salt and a little bit of turmeric. And that's your dal. You can make your dal and actually keep it. Dal freezes really well. But apart from rice and dal, or you can even put lots of things, because dal is pure protein, and 1 cup of this red dal that you have has got more protein than 3 eggs in it. So it's actually, and it's got, hardly no fat. So it's a very, very good thing to have, especially, if you're trying to just stay off the carbs or stay fuller. And all you need to do is maybe put a boiled egg into it. Sometimes I put sausages into it. Whatever you've got sort of lying about in the fridge. So your oil goes down. And then you temper it. Now, by temper, it's called chok. It's that wonderful Indian word where you put the spices in there and it sizzles. So in terms of spices, let's see what I'm going to do, is just to make it easier. I'm going to use our MK Bombay potato masala. And that's already got my spices and turmeric and everything. And literally about ½ teaspoon of that just goes in. And we wait for that to splutter. So our dry spices obviously go in first. We wait for this to nicely splutter. And I think you can hear it now. And once that splutters, what I'll do is I'm going to put in chopped onions. And this is, again, it's that wonderful Indian word called andaz, which is estimate. And I've put in literally about 2 tablespoons of onions in it, high heat. Yeah? And then if you like garlic, put garlic. So I'm going to put garlic because we love garlic in our house. So I've literally got 2 cloves of garlic. This is a lot of garlic, but it's nice. So that goes in, high heat. It's all being fried. And then in terms of spices, you can put in chili powder, you can put in turmeric powder. What I'm going to put in is I've got a mixture of spices in here. And you can pretty much put anything in there. This has got a little bit of asafoetida, it's got a little bit of chili powder, it's got coriander. So I'll just put that in there, about a teaspoon. And get your onions nicely fried up. So this is all being done on high heat, flat bottom pan. Onions being fried up with the spices. The place smells lovely. And then once that's done, what you do is, I'm going to put tomatoes. And again, in our house, people love tomatoes. This is like one big lump of really big tomato which has been chopped up. So I'll put that in. And what the tomato does is that it obviously releases the moisture. But what it also does is that takes away, it sort of, releases the moisture and makes sure nothing sticks. And it adds lovely color. So that's the tomato that's gone on. And we're almost there. So we just need to fry up the tomato on high heat till it's nice and mushy. Probably do a bit of salt on that. I'm going to put ½ teaspoon of salt in that. And at this point, if you want to put in any vegetables which are sitting in there, peas, beans, carrots, whatever you want, you can make the dal as colorful and as nutritious as you want. You can, as I said, you can even put in boiled eggs. So this is, and then that's literally done for about 2-3 minutes. And then all I'm doing is I'm taking this dal that's been boiled and I put the dal on it. I still have had a cover. That's okay. And for me, the dal is now quite thick. So what I'm going to do, once it calms down a bit, it's obviously going to let all these wonderful flavors absorb. But what I'm going to do is, now if I was going to have this with chapatis, you could have it a bit thick, but don't forget it will dry out a bit. So So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of water in it, just to thin it out. And just then let it simmer and cook. Going to taste it and see if it needs a little bit more salt. So I'm going to put a little bit more salt on that. And then the final thing that I'm going to put in there is spinach. Now again, this is completely optional, but I have got some baby spinach sitting there. So I'm literally just going to bung the spinach in. And what the spinach will do is it will wilt and we'll add lots of lovely iron to it, but it will give it this lovely taste. A little bit more water. I think it's drying out a bit. And that is the first dal done. So this was the yellow lentils, the yellow or the orange dal that you get in Sainsbury's or anywhere. 1 cup of that, and you can see how much of dal I've actually got out of it. This is going to be enough for 4 people. And we just let that simmer, and that's the first dal done. So while that's simmering, I'm going to now show you how to do a second kind of dal.
Did green chili go in?
Sorry?
Did green chili go in?
No green chilies, but you can definitely add green chilies to it. No green chilies have gone in, but you can definitely add green chilies to it. So you can see it's got the onions and everything, and how lovely and wonderful it looks. Just looks fresh and vibrant, and it's clean. It's really, really nice. So that's the first one. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to get another pot. My second bowl. That's the first dal. It's done. And the last thing which I'm going to put on it once we take it off is a little bit of ghee, but you can put chopped coriander. I don't have any chopped coriander here at the moment. But tomatoes, onion, garlic. I use a little bit of our Bombay potato masala, but you can just use cumin or coriander, or any whole spices to temper it. And that will just sit there. And that's your first dal done. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And we are now going to make our second dal, which is the Bengali Dal, which is the Chola Dal, which is this one, split peas. This one takes a slightly longer to cook, and what I have done is, which I showed you before, is I've done it Bengali style. So I've boiled it beforehand, but you can see that it's still got little bits in it, but it is soft, it's cooked. I've also put some sliced coconut in it, and I've boiled it with turmeric and with some chilies. So it's there. And again, the process is pretty much the same, but the 2 dals taste completely different. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that you can pretty much use whatever dal you've got, whatever vegetables you've got, and whatever spices you've got, and you can actually turn out a lovely, wholesome, comforting dish. If you put the rice in the dal and you let it cook, then you end up with khichdi, which is the original word for kejri, which is the Indian, which is rice and dal cooked together. And that's, the ultimate comfort food with a dollop of ghee in it. So this one, again, we put the ghee in it. And I'm going to now temper that. I'm going to do a different kind of tempering. So in that, I've got 1 dried red chili, I've got a little bit of bay leaves, I've got some mustard seeds, and I've got cumin, whole cumin. So that's my tempering for this one. And this one, I'm not putting any onions, ginger, garlic, nothing. I boiled the dal with a little bit of ginger, so it's there. So I'm not frying up anything else. And let's hope this doesn't go spluttering all over. This dal I'll leave a little bit thick. And literally, that's got the ghee in it. And that's been boiled up. You just bring that to a boil. Just bring the whole thing up to a boil, and that's literally your second dal cooked. You need to bring that to a boil because the dal is already cooked. So there are 2 ways of doing it. A third way of doing the dal was if I had put the oil, heated the oil, put the spices, put raw dal into it and then put water and let the whole thing cook together. That could have been another way of doing it. So you could temper it first or you can temper it last, depends on what you're feeling like. So you can see that's got the bay leaf, it's got the chili in it. And this is a thicker dal, which is, as I said, it's the essential Bengali cholar dal. So it's pretty much up to you, whatever kind of dal you've got. Just make sure that it's cooked. That's the main thing. It's properly cooked. It's not sort of, it's not bitey. And do not put too much water when you're cooking it. You can always add water later on and thin it out. Because if you put too much water in it, what happens? The dal will never cook. So you'll always have the dal on one side and you will have the liquid on one side. So it'll turn out like this husky kind of thing where the husk is separate. So it'll be like badly cooked porridge. So our rice is now happening. Both the dals are done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move this out because this dal is done, and we'll transfer it out and I'll show you both the dals. So let me just move this back. Just as a reminder, the kind of dals that we had, I'll just bring that up for you. So you can see this was the white urad dal, and then this is the yellow dal. This is the split peas, the chana dal. This was the orange moong dal, which is the one we've cooked with, and this is the green one. So they're all fabulously healthy, and they're different, but they're very, very tasty. So we'll move that out. Let's move the spice mixtures. I'll take 2 pots out and put the dals in. So what I'll do is I'll first put the chana dal out there. My Bengali chana dal or cholar dal out. Side of it. And then I'm going to do the second dal, which is the yellow lentil, the moong dal, which is here with spinach in it. So let me just first pour that out. That's the second one with spinach in it, and that's the first one. Okay, what I'll do is now, all I will do is add a little bit of ghee on the top, just so that the ghee dissolves. So you can see I put a bit of ghee. So what will happen is the ghee will just dissolve in that. And these dals will stay in the fridge for a good few days. You can also put it in the freezer and just keep that, and that's quite nice. So that's my 2 dals done. Hopefully you can see that clearly. So that's dal number 1, and this is dal number 2. And then I'm just going to look at the rice. So where are we on the rice timings? How much time have we got on the rice? 5 minutes. I'm going to check on the rice. No, I think it's still got a little bit of time to go. So we've got a little bit of time to have a conversation. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, this is the time to ask. I'm going to taste this dal, so I'm just dissolving this. This dal, this Bengali dal with coconut, is lovely because it's got some crunch in it. It's really, really lovely and comforting. The other one is the normal, the other one with spinach in it, and you can see that as well. So you've seen how little oil we've used. We've hardly used any oil. Very clean. It's pure protein. Use this. You can have it for breakfast. Strange though it might sound, you can add boiled eggs, as I keep on saying. You can have it with rice. You can have it with chapati. But if you've got dal in the fridge or even in the freezer, you'll never really go hungry. You can almost put anything and have it like a soup. We went to Istanbul many years ago, and all they did was they just gave us dal. In India, you have dal soup as well. So it's a great. It isn't dull at all. Right, I'm going to have a look at the rice, and let's get the rice out, and that's going to be our dinner today. I think the rice is nearly done. Give me a second. So have you got any questions, or have I stunned everybody into silence? Okay. So that's today's session. Next week we've got something quite exciting, and we're doing puris, which is puffed bread, which lots of you have asked about. So we're going to be making the bread dough. So up till now we've obviously done parathas, we've done naan using bread mix, and this time we're going to be doing puri. So we'll roll it out and we'll puff up magically. And again, that's something that you can have with dal, you can have that pretty much with sugar, you can have that with whatever's lying there. So puris are again one of life's greatest pleasures. So next week we're going to do puri with a potato curry. But I think the rice is now done, so let me bring the rice out, and then you can see this lovely soft fluffy rice. And just to recap for the rice, all we did was we put 1 cup of rice and we doubled the water, we put the lid, brought it to a boil, doubled it, and left it on for about 20 minutes. And you'll see we've got, whenever we have people, and people are very nervous about cooking rice, but there is nothing. Rice is probably the most scientific of Indian food to do. And here you can see the rice, every grain is separate and it's completely fluffy. And rice is probably one of the most scientific of Indian things to make, because as long as you've measured the rice and you've measured the water and you've timed it, your rice is never going to fail. So that's it. So there you have it, 20 minutes later. 2 types of dal and rice, so that's rice and dal. And what you can do is you can have poppadoms with it. Somebody suggested an omelette. You can have salad, but all you literally need is a bowl, some rice, some dal. You can have pickles, you can have salad, you can have poppadom, something crunchy, and that's it sorted. A completely healthy and wholesome meal. And that's it. So that's my favorite comfort food, rice and dal. I hope you've enjoyed it. And next week, as I said, we're going to do puris, but this is going to go on IGTV, so you can use that. And then if you're looking to do some cooking over the weekend, then go for it. Thanks guys. Bye now.